My name is Allysen Callery. I come from Rhode Island, USA. I'm a fingerstyle acoustic guitar player. I started off as a poet first, and so the kind of music that I write tends to be more poetry and on top of music rather than verse, chorus, verse.
Once I drove to his house, but the door was locked.
My name is Ryan Lee Crosby. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, in the USA. Um, I am I'm here playing an old style of country blues music from southern U.S. But I've also played in a lot of other styles over the years, not just blues, acoustic and electric blues, but folk music, rock music, little bits of electronic music, lots of different kinds of things.
When I did this request, I had a whole bunch of pictures to choose from, but the one I kept going back to was this one in particular. I was really struck by the shame and modesty on her face. She'd been hauled in with a bunch of other women for prostitution, and this policeman behind her with this very stern face. I read up about the painting on Wikipedia to get some more information. It turns out the painter that painted this, I think, knew this woman personally. She was a seamstress. She was seduced, as many young girls are, by an older man in a position of power. She says she was sleeping, and he says the other thing. But what happened was, after you are seduced in this society, the ideology was that was it, you're ruined, you can never be married, you can never do real work or any kind of work at all other than prostitution to keep yourself alive. And Christian Kruk hated that as much as we hate it hearing it now, and he wanted to tell her story. So I wrote the song Albertine for her, for him, because I thought that was such a powerful and amazing thing that he did for love and for women's rights. I usually start with a melody. I'll start with a melody. I'll be playing guitar. A series of notes and chords will come across. I'll start to hear something in my head, and then I know I have to turn on I have an app on my iPhone called SoundCloud, and you just press record, and it records you. So what comes out is, it literally will come out of my mouth, sometimes the full song, sometimes just parts of the song in words, and what doesn't have a word, I'm kind of making a fake language. So I hit that, and then I listen back on it, and then I fill in all the missing places. Oh yeah, no. With the painting, I definitely wanted to tell the story. I had little bits of what I wanted from her, but I also had something of my own, that I had prior. Just a little, hint of what I wanted for this song to be. But basically, I just told her story.
Slept from my bed while my husband was sleeping. Once I drove to his house, but the door was locked. And I could see
So, yeah, I did write and record 2 songs for 2 different paintings, and the first one here, I believe is pronounced Nacht. My pronunciation needs some work, but by Jan Altink, and I mean this spoke to me on a deep, a primal level. I could feel aware of you know, of myself as a man, I could look at the photo and feel that the way that she's presented and the way that I felt, you know, that she was looking at me, gave me a feeling of desire, and part of it was that how vulnerable she seems. I wanted there to be a sense of the sacred. So the song has a mix of kind of sacred and profane imagery, and I tried to, I recorded, I don't know if you guys know what I mean, but like backwards guitar. It's kind of like a psychedelic sound from the 60s that the Beatles often used. And I kind of used it in a very different context to try to illustrate like all these different lines. I tried to make my guitar sort of replicate the lines in the painting as I experienced them.
I've had already a lot of songs, and people have said this will be really good for the ending credits. I make lonely music. I think music make you feel a little sad sometimes, and so definitely I get inspired by all sorts of things. I've gotten inspired by books, children's books in particular. Tove Jansson, that wrote the Moomin Troll series. I don't know if anyone knows that. Moomin Troll from Finland, and so I've written a few songs from her characters, and I like fairy tales, so my second CD, Hobgoblin's Hat, pretty much was all based on fairy tales, either fairy tales I had written myself or fairy tales that I had read about, or definitely in a lot of my songs will be fairy tale imagery.
It's a hard question for me to answer what kind of movie I would like my music to be in, because I feel that it could go in many different directions. But I find that the soundtrack music that I find most exciting to listen to, and the kind of music I would like to make for a movie, is actually maybe like, I don't know if you guys have seen the first Dirty Harry movie. With Lalo Schifrin did the soundtrack. It's like there's a lot of very funky drumming and bass guitar, but then also strings and guitars with wah-wah pedals, and that's, I think, my dream job of creating the music for a movie would be something like that. But I think with the blues material that I'm playing right now, I could see that being used in maybe like, I mean, you can kind of see, like in the TV show True Detective, if you guys have seen that, like there's like the very southern, I thought that had an excellent soundtrack of like southern blues themed music. So yeah, maybe like a crime drama,
Yeah,
you know, I think would be fun. So yeah, maybe putting it out there. If anyone in this room wants to make a crime drama, I'm your.
So, Dr. Aletta Henrietta Jacobs, first woman doctor, and I know that she's had to fight for everything that she's gotten, because that is a face of a fighter. That's a face of a woman who's been used to being judged and judged poorly. I try to approach everything with love, and I would try to promote her fighting, but also the fact what she did it for. You know, she wasn't doing it to be famous. She was doing it to help. She was burning a trail for other women. She was helping women with her knowledge. I think what I would have to do is write the poem out first, and then I would have to look around on guitar and find that kind of find that feeling for her if I could do it.
It's really nice to be able to see the same model in this painting from Alten's nude that I composed the other song for. It's interesting to me to hear the story of this woman who came from the country to model for different artists here in Groningen, and it's interesting to see that she's portrayed so differently. I actually wouldn't have made the connection that it's the same lady. If I were to try to write a song in either a response to either of these paintings or as a reflection of either of these paintings, in my personal process now, I think, I approach music as a combination of both feeling and technique, and I think that in art, it's really, you can't have one without the other and create something that lasts. I personally would probably start with something rhythmic for this, something kind of like a driving rhythm, and then to find other elements to add on top of it. It's interesting to try to consider, what they might be feeling, because to me she seems like this is almost like she doesn't look quite comfortable to me. So I think that might influence the feeling of the song that I would create. There's something that, even though the colors are bright, there's something that makes me feel a little edgy, a little bit uncomfortable. So I could see that being in elements of music, maybe like a steady, almost agitating rhythm, and maybe some chords that are almost a little tough to take.